Is the PPT visible? Is the PPT visible?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
There is.
Yes, sir.
Uh, so please ensure that there should not be any disturbance in the class. So everybody, sincere request to everybody that please mute yourself, and whoever is please unmute and ask anything. Right? Okay. So today we'll discuss a new act, that is Indian Negotiable Instruments Act. Right? Indian Negotiable Instrument Act 1881.
କୋଉ ଫୋନଟା ଖରାପ ହେଇଗଲା? ଆଁ? ଏ ଫୋନଟା ଖରାପ ହେଇଗଲା? ନାଇଁ ତୋର ଠିକ ଅଛି।
So, from the very beginning, there is disturbance in the class. Please try not to make disturbances in the class. Let us understand first what is the meaning of a negotiable instrument. So, a negotiable instrument is an instrument which is freely transferable from one person to another by mere delivery or by endorsement and a delivery. That means what? Like your paper currency note, there are also certain other instruments. Instruments means here documents only. Okay, there are other certain documents are there which are freely transferable or freely transferable, or even they can also be endorsed and then it can be delivered. Otherwise, by mere delivery, they are also transferable. So these are called your negotiable instruments. Okay. And for the management of these negotiable instruments, there is a Negotiable Instrument Act which is enacted in 1881. So let us understand what are the features of a negotiable instrument. The first one is your transferability. Okay, transferability means what? A negotiable instrument is easily and freely transferable, and there is no formalities or no paperwork is involved regarding the transfer of such negotiable instrument. And here the ownership of an instrument is a sufficient proof of the ownership or the endorsement of the document. Right? Second point is it must be in writing. That means the negotiable instrument, as it is an instrument, that means it is a document. So this document must be in writing, and it also includes handwritten notes, printed, engraved, or typed, whatever it will. Okay. Certain companies, what they are preparing their negotiable instruments on the on a piece of paper, which is they engraved it, and you can also type it, you can also print it, or it can also be handwritten note, right? And third, the time of the payment must be certain. That means here in the negotiable instrument, particularly in the negotiable instrument, what either there is a promise or there will be order to make the payment to a certain person. That means here the amount which is to be required to be paid, that is must be certain. And pay also must be certain. Pay also must be certain means the person who will receive the amount on this negotiable instrument, he should be also a certain person. That means we can identify him. Okay. So this person can also be a natural person or artificial person. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So now we'll discuss regarding the various types of negotiable instruments. So, regarding the types of a negotiable instrument, basically there are three types of a negotiable instrument. One is your promissory notes, another is your bills of exchange, and another is your check. Apart from that, many other negotiable instruments are there, but they are not what are recognized by law, so that they are not coming within the purview of your negotiable instruments. Okay, so as I told, there are three types of a negotiable instrument. First one is your promissory notes, second one is your bills of exchange, and third is the check. Okay, so let us understand what is the promissory note. So a promissory note refers to as an what an instrument that is in a writing, and there is an unqualified or unconditional undertaking, and it is signed by the person who is preparing it to pay a certain sum of money only to or to the order of a certain person or to the bearer of the instrument. That means here you see the payment can be made to various parties. Like it can only be paid to that particular person whose name is mentioned there, or the person to whom the direction or the person to whom the order has been given to receive the payment, or it will be a certain person, or it will be the bearer of the instrument. Bearer of the instrument means whoever carrying the instrument is called the bearer of the instrument. Is that clear? What is a promissory note? A promissory note is is an instrument that is in the writing, and here there is a unqualified or a unconditional undertaking, and this undertaking is signed by the maker, the person who is making this instrument, to pay a certain sum of money to a certain person, right? Again, there is certain disturbances in the class. Please mute yourself, everybody. Okay. So now you understand what is a promissory note. Let us understand who are the parties to the promissory note. The parties, various parties to the promissory notes, only there are two parties, and one person is called the maker, the person who makes the promissory note and promises to pay is called the maker, and another person, the person to whom the payment will be made, is called the payee. That means there are two parties, one is the maker and another is the payee. Maker is the person who makes the promissory note and promises to pay, and another person payee, that is the person to whom the payment is to be made, is called the payee. So these are the two parties. Who are the two parties to the promissory note? Maker and a payee. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So let us understand what are the features. What are the features of promissory notes? Actually, uh, what I am finding that a few slides have been abrupted. Okay, that is why don't worry. I am discussing after the class. I will what rectify whatever there. Actually, some slides are missing.
Sir,
While trying.
unconditional undertaking means what?
Unconditional undertaking means without any condition, without putting any condition. If I am undertaking to pay a certain sum of money, that is called unconditional undertaking. Suppose I am writing that I am I promise to pay. I promise to pay Mr. X 5,000 rupees on this date. That means there is no condition. But if I will put any condition, that means I will pay 5,000 to Mr. X in the month of December if he will marry C. Then there will be a condition. That means here in the promissory note, there should not be any condition. That is called a unconditional undertaking. And whenever we are making any promise, that is called undertaking. That means the party is ready to make the payment without any condition. And for that, he is giving an undertaking that I will pay. Why? Because if he will not pay or if he will fail to pay, then there will be legal controversy. Right?
Okay.
So let us understand what are the features or characteristics of a promissory note. It's a first characteristics that it should be in writing. What? It should be in writing. Why? Because an oral promise to pay is not sufficient to form a valid promissory note. Whenever, particularly, what payment matters, that means whenever we are talking about the money, it is better that always it should be in the written form. And as a promissory note is what documentary evidence, that is why it must be in writing. This is the first characteristic. Second characteristics, there must be an express promise to pay. Express promise to pay means you are expressing that you are accepting the payment. That means what accepting to make the payment, or you are promising to make the payment. That is express promise to pay. Okay, it is not implied. Clearly, you have mentioned it that I promise to pay Mr. X rupees 5,000 on 31st December 2025. Right? Understand? The third point is that definite and unconditional promise. Definite and unconditional promise means what? The promise to make the payment must be unconditional. That means there should not be any condition. And another thing, definite. Definite means what? Whatever the amount you will pay, that amount should be definite. Say it is 5,000 or 10,000 or whatever may be. But if I will promise to pay a Johnny huge sum of money, so we cannot quantify what is huge sum of money. Okay, that is why it should be a definite sum, definite and unconditional promise. That means I am making a promise to pay a definite amount to some certain person, and there should not be any condition, right? The next point, the promise to pay money only. That means whenever we are making any promissory note, or whenever we are preparing any promissory note, at that time we are making the promise to pay only the money. Pay only the money means this money should be measured in Indian currency. That's INR. Okay.
कितना दूर गया? इधर क्या है, रूम गेस्ट 60 तक है, उसका अलावा एक डे आउटिंग का हाँ वो 50 लोग है, 120 लोग है, तो मीजा वैसा
Please mute yourself. Whoever disturbing in the
Yes.
class.
Sir, you can mute everyone from your side, sir.
This facility will be there.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
सर पार्टिसिपेट को जाएगी सर कर दें तो म्यूट ऑन समझो
Sir, ତଳେ ଗୋଟେ ଗ୍ରୀନ କଲର ର ବଟନ ଅଛି ଯୋଉଟା ଆକ୍ଟିଭେଟ ଥିବ ସାର୍, ସେଇଟା ସାର୍ ଅଫ୍ କରିଦେବେ ସାର୍।
କରନ୍ତୁ, ସମସ୍ତଙ୍କୁ କରନ୍ତୁନି, ହଠାତ୍ କିଛି ଡାଉଟ୍ ହେଲେ ପଚାରି ହବନି।
ସାର୍ ଚାଟ୍ ରେ ଆସିକି କରିଦେବେ ସାର୍।
That will create problem for you. So I am requesting all of you, please mute yourself, and whenever required, you unmute. Okay. So the promise to pay the money only. That means whenever this promissory note is prepared, in this promissory note, only the promise to pay money only can be prepared. That means to pay something else. I want to give you 5 dozen of chocolates. So it cannot be a promissory note. The promise in the promissory note, whenever we are preparing the promissory note, it must be to pay money only. Okay, Indian rupees, Indian legal currency, whatever we are calling. Okay, and the promise to pay a certain sum, that already I mentioned you. And another point is that the maker and the payee must be certain, definite, and a different person. That means as the same person cannot make the payment to himself or herself. That is why the maker and the payee must be different person. Okay, and they must be certain person. They may be definite person, and they should be different person. Is that clear? And another thing is that necessary stamps. Necessary stamp means according to
लाइट के सर
हाँ नो एक्चुअली व्हाट आई एम टेलिंग दैट ये जो स्लाइड्स कुछ इधर उधर हो गया है whenever actually I mail it to my email ID that is why there is a certain what I am finding also certain slides are missing. Okay, that is why again after the conclusion of the class I will rectify that and I will send to you. Don't worry about that, but please listen attentively so that you understand what I am discussing, right?
यस सर यस सर
And it should be stamped properly. That means the promissory note should be stamped properly. And why? Because a promissory note must be properly stamped. It should be in accordance with the provisions of the Indian Stamp Act. And such stamp must be duly cancelled by the maker's signature or initials. That means by putting the signature, we are cancelling the stamp so that the money will go to the government treasury, right? And according to the Stamp Act, what is the minimum amount of the stamp should be affixed there? That is also mentioned in the Stamp Act. And as per the Stamp Act, whatever required, it should be a promissory note should also carry the proper stamp, and it should be signed by the party, right? So this is all. That means these are the characteristics of your promissory note. Then another negotiable instrument is your bills of exchange. Okay, or bill of exchange. What is a bill of exchange? It is an instrument in writing, and it is also containing an unconditional order. It is, it is also signed by the maker, and with this instrument, a maker directs a certain person. That means what? In this, there is a order. A maker directs a certain person to pay certain sum of money only to or to the order of a certain person or to the bearer of the instrument. The same thing like your promissory note, but the difference, basic difference between promissory note and a bills of exchange is that
ମ୍ୟାଡାମ ଆଜି ଆମେ ପଳେଇମୁ 3ଟା ପଳେଇମୁ ଆଜି ଟିଉସନ ବୋଧେ ଖୋଲା ଅଛି 4:30 ନା କଣ ମାନେ
up to you. Understand?
भाई पुणी कहीं डिस्टर्बेंस कल
ଆଜି ଆମେ ପଳେଇମୁ
सर मैंने म्यूट करंतु सर म्यूट करंतु न किछि माने देबी
अरे ये धामनगर कहीं आसी क्लास को भाई डिस्टर्ब
हेलो
Hello.
धामनगर भाई टिके बंद करो म्यूट तो करो
Okay. So the bill of exchange, it is also an instrument in writing containing an unconditional order signed by the maker. And here, what the maker directs a certain person to pay a certain sum of money only to or to the order of a certain person or to the bearer of the instrument. That means the same thing like your promissory note. What is the difference?
ଖାଇକି ଗୁଗୁଲ ସାଙ୍ଗ ମୁଁ ନା କିଛି ନା କେନ ସକ କିଛି ନା ଖାଇନି ମୁଁ ଜାଣିନି ତୁ ସାଙ୍ଗ ନୁହେଁ
ए धामनगर भाई
Okay. So what we understand that in a bill of exchange, in a promissory note, I told there are two parties, but in a bills of exchange, there are three parties. What are these three parties? Drawer, drawee, and a payee. Drawer is the person, that means the maker of the bill of exchange. Drawee is the person who is directed by the drawer to pay. The person directed by the drawer to pay. That is called drawee. And a payee. Payee is a person named in the instrument to whom the payment is to be made. Right? That means here you see three parties are there. That means one party is giving direction to another to make the payment to another. Okay? That means the direction is given by the drawer, that is the maker of the bills of exchange, to a certain person, that means the drawee, and this drawee shall make the payment to the payee. So three parties are there: drawer, drawee, and a payee. Is that clear? समझ में आ रहा है?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
Sir,
ଟିକେ ଆଉ ଥରେ
ଟିକେ
କହିଦିଅନ୍ତୁ।
ନାକୁ drawing and pay
ଟିକେ
ଟିକେ, sir.
କହିଦିଅନ୍ତୁ ଟିକେ ରିଅଲ ଲାଇଫ ର ଏକ୍ସାମ୍ପଲ ଦେଇକି ସାର୍ ଟିକେ।
Okay, okay. Here you see what is happening. So whenever you are making a draft, whenever you are making a back draft, that is what a good example of your bills of exchange. Why? Because you are preparing the draft and you are giving by this draft, you are giving the order to the concerned bank where you have made the draft to make the payment to a certain person, and whenever that certain person make the demand, then he will able to get this amount. So here you are the drawer, and the drawer is the bank in which you have made the draft, and the pay is the person who is supposed to take the payment, right? So three parties are there. Instead of a promissory note, in the promissory note there are only two parties, that is the maker and the pay. But here in the bills of exchange there are three parties, that is drawer, drawing, and the pay. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So
Sir,
let
our
us,
slide
yes.
our slide ଦେଖାଯାଉନି।
Now slide, what I told you that actually today, whenever I transfer, there is what due to certain technical error, the slides are some slides are missing.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay, that is why don't
Sir,
worry about the slides.
sir,
After
ସାର୍
the
ଏଇଟା
class,
ଟିକେ ଗ୍ରୁପ ରେ ଦେଇଦେବେ ସାର୍ ଆଉ।
obviously,
ଆଜ୍ଞା
after
Thank you
the
so much, sir.
after the class, I will sort all these water slides, and then I will send it to you. Don't worry about
ସ୍ଲାଇଡ ରେ
that.
ସାର୍ ଏଇ ଚାପ୍ଟର ସାର୍ କିଛି ଯଦି କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚିନ୍ ଆସିବ ଯୋଉଟା କି ଏକ୍ସାମ ଓରିଏଣ୍ଟେଡ ସାର୍ ସେଇଟା ବି ଟିକେ ସାର୍ ମେନସନ କରିବେ ଆଉ
Okay,
ହେଲ୍ପଫୁଲ ହବ
okay.
ସେଇଟା।
Sure.
Thank you
sir,
sir, thank you sir.
sir, page last je paila bank drawing.
ଟିକେ ଭଏସ କଟୁଛି ଆପଣଙ୍କର।
Sir,
ହଁ କୁହନ୍ତୁ।
in case of suppose we issue a check
ହଁ
in someone's name, in that case, can we say that I am the drawer, the bank is the drawee, and to whom the check is supposed to be given in that party's
yes
name?
yes
So he will be paying, na?
yes
Okay, sir.
but the thing is that here you see, suppose there is no money in your account, then you cannot give the direction. But why I have given the example of your draft, in case of a draft, it cannot there is a bounce in the check, but draft cannot be bounced.
Yes, that we know. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Let us understand what are the features of a bills of exchange. First point is, it is essential that a bill of exchange should be in written, as you know. Second point, the name of all the relevant parties should be properly mentioned. That means a drawer, drawee, and payee. The names of all these parties must be clearly mentioned in the bills of exchange. And next point is that it must be addressed from one party to another. That means whenever the direction is given for making the payment, the direction in the direction to whom the payment is made and who will make the payment, everything should be clear in there. And it must bear the signature of the party giving it. That means the drawer of the bill of exchange should sign over the bills of exchange, and it must outline the time when the money is due. That means when the amount will be paid to that particular person, the time should be also mentioned, and it must outline the amount of the money that must be paid. Okay, so these are the features of a bills of exchange. Only 6 points I have discussed. First point, that is, it is essential. It is essential that a bill of exchange must be in writing. Second thing, the name of all the relevant parties should be properly mentioned in the bills of exchange. Third point, it must be addressed from one party to another. Next point, fourth point, it must bear the signature of the party giving it. And fifth point is, it must outline the time when the money is due. And the last point, it must outline the amount of the money that must be paid. Okay. So these are the features of your bills of exchange. The next is your check. Actually, your check is a bill of exchange drawn on a specified banker and not expressed to be payable otherwise than on demand. इसका मतलब क्या हो रहा है? चेक एक बिल्स ऑफ एक्सचेंज है, बट इट इज ए स्पेसिफिक टाइप ऑफ बिल्स ऑफ एक्सचेंज. Why? Because it is drawn on a particular banker. इसका मतलब क्या हो रहा है कि आपका जो बैंक में अकाउंट है उसी बैंक का आप चेक दे सकते हो. आपका सपोज बैंक अकाउंट है आपका एसबीआई में, तो आप एक्सिस बैंक का चेक नहीं दे सकते हो, राइट? So it is a bill of exchange drawn on a specified banker and not expressed to be payable otherwise than on demand. इसका मतलब क्या हो रहा है? Only on demand. It shall be payable only on demand. And it includes electronic image of a truncated check and a check in the electronic form. इसका मतलब क्या होता है? It also includes electronic checks. Nowadays, instead of carrying your documentary check, document of a check or paper check, now electronic check or truncated checks can also be possible, and it includes everything. Right?
Sir, is it called as ECS? Is it called as ECS, Electronic Clearing System?
Very good.
And
Very
sir,
good.
actually, it is a CTS check truncation system.
You see, your ECS also be your truncated check. Okay.
Okay.
So, a truncated check means a check which is truncated during the course of a clearing cycle, either by the clearing house or by the bank. And generation of an electronic image for transmission, substituting the further physical movement of the check is writing. इसका मतलब क्या हो रहा है कि चेक generally the check should be in writing, but instead of
सर टिके रिपीट करिवे सुबिलान ठीक से.
Okay, you see, actually, as I told you, that a check should be in writing, and but whenever it is not possible to make the payment immediately, in order to make it possible to make the payment immediately, it will be converted into electronic form, and it can be transmitted from a various distance, so that a check which you have drawn or a check which you have made in the Simla or Darjeeling, that can be encashed here in Bhubaneswar. This process is called your ECS process, or whenever we are making generally the installments for the payments of the installments, bank installments. Instead of giving so many checks, what you are doing, that you are giving only one check, and this check is converted into your truncated check. That means if all through the suppose there are 20 installments, that means 20 times this same check will be presented for payment. Okay. Now you understand what is a truncated check?
Sir, again, sir.
That means actually what is happening. Generally, checks should be in the written form, but for the purpose of nowadays, whenever we need immediately money or for our betterment, what is happening? The checks are electronic form. Either the checks are in the electronic form or it will be in the truncated form. So checks in electronic form means checks drawn in electronic form by using any computer resource and signed in a secure system. There will be digital signature. We are calling it a digital signature, with or without biometric signature, and what asymmetric crypto system, or with the electronic signature, or these are the certain developments in the electronic reforms. Anyway, that means whenever these checks are totally made in the electronic form and approved by the appropriate authority, then it is a electronic check. And truncated check means what is happening, instead of using so many number of a check, just for example, whenever suppose you are taking a loan from the bank, instead of submitting previously what we are submitting so many numbers of post dated checks. Suppose 20 installments, that means you are supposed to deposit 20 checks. Now what will happen once only one check, you are supposed to give one check, and there is what a ECS form, and you are supposed to sign over this ECS form, and it will be deposited in the bank, so that the banker what there is a what written agreement between the banker and that particular financer, that this only check will be presented for 20 times. Okay, that is what your truncated check, or what we are calling generally ECS. Okay,
Okay, sir.
so let us understand what are the features of this check. First feature, it is an instrument in writing. That means a check must be in writing, and it must be written by pen pencil, using pen pencil, and nowadays it is written electronically. Okay, and second point, unconditional order. Unconditional order, that means whenever we are paying any check to anybody, in the check no order is mentioned. Whatever other orders we are giving to that person, don't deposit it in this day. You can deposit it in another day, like that. But on the check, what is written? Uh, we are just putting the date. That means on that date or after that date, the check is payable. But before that date, it is not payable, right? And here there will be no condition. That is unconditional order, and it is drawn on a specified banker only. It is drawn on a specified banker. That means the bank in which I have an account, I can give the check from that bank only, that particular bank or specified banker. Okay, I have a check in the Axis. Suppose I have an account in Axis Bank, I cannot issue a check of the SBI, right? Then a certain sum of money only. That means whenever we are writing a check, and here we are giving an order to make the payment, this order to make the payment must be for a certain sum of money. It should be clearly mentioned. And pay to be certain. Pay to be certain, that means the person who will receive the payment should not be a ghost. It should be a person. Okay. And this word person includes both your corporate and local authorities, association, or any office or government. It can also be. That means a natural person as well as an artificial person. And it should be signed by the drawer. And it payable always on demand. इसका मतलब क्या हो रहा है? जब आप डिमांड करोगे तब मिलेगा, लेकिन डेट के बाद, डेट से पहले नहीं होगा. On the date or after the date, whenever there will be demand, then the payment shall be made. Is that clear? Now we'll make a comparison, compare and contrast between promissory note, bills of exchange and the check. ये तीनों का बीच में comparison हमें चाहिए. So let us first we'll make a comparison between bills of exchange and a promissory note. First thing, if we'll understand the meaning, then the bill of exchange is a written instrument that indicates the indebtedness of a buyer towards the sellers of goods. And a promissory note, it is a written promise to the debtor to pay a certain sum of money to the creditor at a future specified date. Right? And so far as the definition is concerned, the definition of a bills of exchange is given under section 5, whereas a promissory note का जो section होता है, defining section, that is 4. Okay. And parties, regarding number of parties in a bills of exchange, there are how many parties are there in the bills of exchange?
3 parties, sir.
3 parties, very good. And in a promissory note, there are 2 parties.
2 parties.
3 party. Maker and
Okay.
pay.
And regarding the drawn by bills of exchange is drawn by a creditor, whereas a promissory note is drawn by the debtor, right? A bills of exchange is generally drawn by a creditor, whereas a promissory note is drawn by debtor. And regarding the liability of a maker, in a bill of exchange, a maker of a bill of exchange, in this case particularly, is a secondary and a conditional. And here in the promissory note, makers of promissory note has a primary and absolute liability. That means promissory note में क्या होता है कि डायरेक्टली प्रॉमिस किया है उसको पेमेंट करने के लिए, so उसका लाइबिलिटी प्राइमरी हो जाता है. बट बिल्स ऑफ एक्सचेंज में क्या होता है, the person who have signed over that is the drawer, he had signed and he had given the direction to another person. In case that another person fails to make the payment, then his liability will arise. That is why his liability is secondary. Understand?
Yes. Again, so again.
Actually, here you see, whenever we are thinking about the liability in a promissory note, as the person directly promises to make the payment to another person, and if that person is failed to make the payment, then the liability shall become primary liability and absolute. But in case of a bills of exchange, here you see the drawer gives direction to the drawee to make the payment to the payee. That means in case of the failure of the drawee, then the liability of a drawer will arise. That is why here the liability of the drawer is secondary. Okay. And in case of your bills of exchange, both the maker and a payee can be the same person. But in case of your what a promissory note, maker and a payee cannot be the same person. Okay. And your bill can also be drawn in copies, whereas a promissory note cannot be drawn in copies. इसका मतलब promissory note copy में नहीं होता है, but bills of exchange it can be also drawn in copies. इसका मतलब एक दो कॉपी तीन कॉपी हो सकता है. Another point regarding dishonor, अब जो notice of a dishonor is not necessary to be given to the maker. Why? Because both the parties already know the dishonor. But in case of bills of exchange, the notice is necessary to be given to the all parties who are involved. Right. So these are the your distinction or difference between bills of exchange and a promissory note. समझ में आ गया सब सारी पॉइंट्स और कुछ डाउट है? Okay. Now we'll discuss regarding the difference between your promissory note and check. ठीक है? So regarding the nature of the order, in the check contains an order to pay the money, and a promissory note contains an undertaking to pay the money. The difference between check and a promissory note. A promissory note contains an undertaking to pay the money, whereas in a check, it is contains an order to pay the money. Okay. And regarding the number of parties in a check, there are how many parties are there in the check? 3 parties, drawer, drawee, and a payee. But in a promissory note, there are only 2 parties, maker and a payee. And regarding the creator of the instrument, a check is what? A check is drawn by the drawer, whereas a promissory note is prepared by the debtors. Okay, debtors prepare this. Then identity of the parties to the instrument, drawer and a drawee can be the same person in the check, whereas in the promissory note, maker and the payee cannot be the same person. And regarding liability, a check is payable on demand, whereas a promissory note can be paid on demand or after specified period. Okay. And regarding crossing of a check, there are 2 ways to cross a check, namely general crossing and specific crossing, but crossing is not applicable for a promissory note. And regarding stamping, so it is not compulsory to stamp the check, but a promissory note should be properly stamped.
Sir, sorry, sir. Sir, screen is freezed, sir. Sir, okay, sir. Now it is working.
No, it is working, but the slides are a little bit some slides are missing. Okay, that is why actually I am not making any scrolling of this.
Okay, sir. No issue, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Thanks, sir.
Okay. So all the points of a distinction between the check and promissory note I have made you understand. Another 3 points are there. One is
Can you
discount.
again repeat what is general crossing and specific crossing?
That whenever I will discuss regarding the crossing, at that time I will discuss. Actually, there is an entire slide for the general and the specific crossing that I will discuss later on. But now I am discussing only the differences between the check and the promissory note. Okay. So the next one is a discounting. Discounting, actually, it is not possible to get a check discounted, but a promissory note can be discounted with a banker. And regarding the grace period, the days of grace are not allowed for a payment of a check, whereas 3 days of grace is allowed to calculate the due date of the promissory note. Okay, so all the points I have discussed. Now we need to find out the difference between check and the bills of exchange. Okay, because first we discuss the difference between promissory note and bills of exchange. Next we discuss the difference between check and the promissory note. Now we'll understand the difference between the check and the bills of exchange. Okay. A check, as you know, is a document which is used to make easy payments on demand and can be transferred through hand delivery. It is your check. Whereas a bills of exchange is a written document that shows the indebtedness of the debtor towards the creditor. And this check has been defined by the Section 6 of the Negotiable Instrument Act, whereas the bills of exchange has been defined under Section 5 of the Negotiable Instrument Act. And the validity period for a check, what is the maximum validity period for a check?
3 months.
3 months.
Very good.
3 months.
It is 3 months, but for a bills of exchange, it is not applicable. That is the validity period. And a check is payable to the bearer on demand. That is always. Whereas the bills of exchange cannot be made payable on demand as per the RBI Act 1934. Right? And regarding the days of grace, it is not applicable for a check, but 3 days of grace are allowed for bills of exchange. Regarding acceptance, a check does not require any acceptance, but a bills of exchange needs to be accepted. Regarding stamping, no such stamping is required for a check, whereas the bills of exchange must be stamped properly. Regarding the facility of a crossing, in a check, the crossing facility is available, whereas this crossing facility is not available for bills of exchange. Regarding the drawing, here you see in case of a check, the bank is only the drawing, but in case of bills of exchange, the drawing can be a person or can be a bank. Okay, so these are all the points of difference between your check and the bills of exchange. That means what we have discussed today, what is a negotiable instrument act and what is a negotiable instrument, what are the features of the negotiable instrument, then what are the different types of a negotiable instrument, promissory note, bills of exchange and a check, and their essential characteristics of all these and the difference of all these. Okay. Now we'll go a little bit way ahead of this. Now we'll discuss regarding the holder in due course. Yes. Okay, so let us understand who is a holder in due course. So holder in due course implies a person who obtains the instrument bona fide for consideration before maturity without any knowledge of the defect in the title of the person transferring the instrument. That means whenever you are getting the bills of exchange, you must get the instrument for a consideration and you must obtain this instrument before its maturity and without the knowledge of a defect in the title of person transferring the instrument. That means the person who have transferred it to you may have acquired it in any way. That means you don't have the knowledge of any defect in the title of the person. Suppose वो person जो आपको दे दिया suppose he have theft it, but you are not aware of that. That is why you can be termed as a holder in due course. Okay.
Sir,
Yes, yes.
again, sir.
Actually, you see what is happening. Generally, a holder of bills of exchange means what? Any person who is a holder a negotiable instrument. But a holder in due course, is due course is a person who, for consideration, became the possessor of a promissory note or bills of exchange or check or the pay or endorsee thereof before the amount mentioned in it become payable and without having sufficient cause to believe that any defect existed in the title of the person from whom he derived his title. Okay, able to understand? That means suppose I got a promissory note or I got a bills of exchange and this bills of exchange is a forged one. But whenever I transfer it for a valuable consideration, you don't know that there is any defect in this title of the preparation of this bills of exchange. Or suppose this bills of exchange which I have handed over to you, that is a theft one, but it is not within your knowledge. Then you are called a holder in due course. Okay. So the section 8 defines the term holder and the section 9 defines the holder in due course. Okay. And who is more powerful? As you know, who is more powerful, a holder or a holder in due course? Obviously, holder in due course. Okay.
Holder in due course, sir.
Very good. Because a person legally obtaining a negotiable instrument and the instrument shall have the name of such a person entitled on it. Thus, the person so entitled may receive the payment. But a holder in due course, a person acquiring the negotiable instrument bona fide for some consideration and whose payment is still due is better known as a holder in due course. And consideration regarding consideration, it is not necessary for holder, whereas consideration is necessary for holder in due course. And right to sue, a holder can all the prior parties. A holder cannot sue all the prior parties, whereas a holder in due course can sue all the prior parties. And regarding good faith, the instrument may or may not be obtained in good faith in case of a holder, but in case of a holder in due course, the instrument must be obtained in good faith. And regarding the privileges, there are comparatively less privileges for a holder, whereas there are comparatively more privileges for a holder in due course. Okay, so these are few points of difference between your holder and a holder in due course. Let us understand what are the essentials to become a holder in due course. And you see in the slide, these are mentioned, these points. First is the privileges of a holder in due course. Sorry, essential to become a holder in due course.
Hello.
Hello. Am I
Sir.
audible? Am I audible
Yes.
to everybody?
Yes, sir. Sir, may I ask something?
Yes, yes.
Sir, suppose I am a party and you are the other party, and I have
Okay.
made some promise to pay you something, right? So I have made an agreement, and in that agreement, it is mentioned that I will pay you a certain amount. So in that case, I am the holder and you are the due course of holder, or I am the due course of holder, you are the holder.
No, 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 no. Whenever you are making the agreement, so agreement is not your what a promissory note or bills of exchange, na? The agreement is not negotiable. For that purpose, you are supposed to give me a promissory note or bills of exchange or a check like that. Okay.
But
So
here, who is the holder and who is the holder in due
okay,
course?
okay. Just I am telling you. So whenever suppose you have drawn a check and given to me, okay, then it is it is a holder. That means I myself is a holder. Okay. But here, why you have given that check to me? The reason is not clear. But a person who, for valuable consideration, possesses that instrument, okay, without having the knowledge of any defect. For example, I have got that check from you. Whatever the check I have got from you, suppose I got that check forcefully from you, right? But I am a what holder, and whenever I will transfer this check to another person, that means why I will transfer another person? Because another person is supposed to get something from me, and instead of making him the payment, I have transferred this check to him. Now that person will become the holder in due course. And what generally regarding this matter, that is, I have obtained this check by threatening you. I have not mentioned to the person, and that person having no knowledge of any defect in the title. अभी मेरा title में defect हुआ है या नहीं? Because I have purchased that instrument from you, what by applying force. That means there is a defect in the title. But the another person to whom I have transferred that check, that person is not aware of the defect of the title of the goods. That is why he will become a holder in due course. That means he possesses all the right to claim what a sue against all the parties. Right?
Right.
Able to understand? Now you able to understand this?
Yes, sir.
Very good. So let us understand why actually ये holder in due course क्यों होता है? Why it is important? Because the holder in due course is getting certain privileges. What are the privileges? First thing, first point होता है inchoate stamped instrument. Section 20 में आता है when one person sign and delivers a stamped paper to another as per the provisions laid under the Negotiable Instrument Act in India, and either wholly blank or having written thereon an incomplete negotiable instrument, he thereby gives the prima facie authority to the holder thereof to make or complete as the case may be. Often it is negotiable instrument. इसका मतलब क्या हो रहा है कि जहां पर कोई negotiable instrument में it is a properly stamped instrument and the party has given the signature, then suppose the party has not mentioned clearly anything, so it can also be what mentioned by the holder in due course. इसका मतलब देखो होल्डर इन ड्यू कोर्स को ये पावर है कि अगर उसको एक इंस्ट्रूमेंट मिल रहा है, सपोज उसको एक चेक मिला है, उसी चेक में क्या हुआ कि चेक में सिग्नेचर प्रॉपर सिग्नेचर है, लेकिन जो अमाउंट कलम है वो अमाउंट कलम में अमाउंट लिखा नहीं है, लेकिन जो इन वर्ड्स अमाउंट लिख दिया है, लेकिन जहां पर अमाउंट लिखना होता है फिगर्स में वहां पर लिखा नहीं है, तो ये होल्डर इन ड्यू कोर्स जो होता है वो लिख सकता है। समझ में आ गया? इसका मतलब इनकम्प्लीट नेगोशिएबल इंस्ट्रूमेंट को कंप्लीट कर सकता है होल्डर इन ड्यू कोर्स अंडर सेक्शन 20। समझ में आ गया?
Yes,
Next,
sir.
next point is the acceptance of a bill drawn in a fictitious name. Acceptance of a bill drawn in fictitious name. Fictitious name का मतलब क्या होता है? ऐसा कुछ नाम है ही नहीं, है ना? So an acceptor of a bill of exchange drawn in a fictitious name and payable to the drawer's order is not by reason that such name is fictitious, relieved from the liability to any holder in due course, claiming under an endorsement by the same hand as the drawer's signature and purporting to be made by the drawer. इसका मतलब क्या हो रहा है? अभी देखो, जो पर्सन साइन कर देता है बिल्स ऑफ एक्सचेंज में, और सपोज जो नाम लिखा है, किसी का नाम लिख दिया, किसका नाम लिख दिया? ऐसा कोई आदमी नहीं है। समझ में आ रहा है? ऐसा कोई आदमी नहीं है। लेकिन अब ये जो बिल आपके पास है और आप और एक आदमी को पास कर दिए हैं, क्यों? कि अनदर पार्टी का कुछ लायबिलिटी था आपके ऊपर, इसलिए आपने उसको पास कर दिया। नाउ दैट पर्सन बिकम होल्डर इन ड्यू कोर्स। तो अभी ये जो होल्डर इन ड्यू कोर्स जब पेमेंट के लिए जाएगा, तो ड्रायर उसको मना नहीं कर पाएगा कि यहाँ पर जो नाम लिखा है, जो पर्सन का नाम लिखा है, ऐसा कोई पर्सन नहीं है। ये एक्सक्यूज नहीं ले सकता है। Why? Because the person who is asking for the payment is a holder in due course. इसका मतलब क्या होता है कि अगर कोई बिल्स ऑफ एक्सचेंज फिक्टिटियस नेम में होता है, लेकिन इट इज इन द हैंड्स ऑफ ए होल्डर इन ड्यू कोर्स, तो द होल्डर इन ड्यू कोर्स हैज एवरी राइट टू क्लेम द अमाउंट फ्रॉम द ड्रायर. Okay. Next point, instrument obtained by unlawful means or for unlawful consideration. ये आता है सेक्शन 58 में। तो व्हाट इज मेंशन्ड हियर, यू सी, जैसे कि मैं बता रहा था कि आपसे फोर्सफुली में वो बिल्स ऑफ एक्सचेंज या प्रोमिसरी नोट को मैं एक्वायर किया हूँ, लेकिन मैं जो फोर्सफुली आपसे एक्वायर किया हूँ वो पता नहीं है जो पार्टी को मैं ट्रांसफर कर दिया। तो दैट पार्टी नाउ बिकम योर व्हाट, दैट इज होल्डर इन ड्यू कोर्स। एंड ये होल्डर इन ड्यू कोर्स के लिए पहले क्या हुआ ना हुआ उसे कोई मतलब नहीं है। That means once he obtained the instrument for some consideration, for valuable consideration, then he has every right to claim the payment from that. Okay. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट है estoppel against denying original validity of the instrument. ये सेक्शन 120 में आता है। यहाँ पर क्या लिखा है कि नो मेकर ऑफ ए promissory note and no drawer of a bill of exchange or a check and no acceptor of a bill of exchange for the honor of the drawer shall in a suit thereon by a holder in due course be permitted to deny the validity of the instrument. इसका मतलब क्या हो रहा है? चाहे प्रोमिसरी नोट हो, चाहे बिल्स ऑफ एक्सचेंज हो, और चाहे आपका चेक हो, ठीक है। यहाँ पर एक बार अगर ये होल्डर इन ड्यू कोर्स के हाथ में लग जाता है, तो दे लूज देयर पावर टू स्पीक दैट the validity of the instrument is not correct. That means whether that means they cannot put any question on the validity of the instrument. समझ में आ गया? And the last point, I think, estoppel against denying the capacity of a pay to endorse. So suppose the check or the bills of exchange or the promissory note and the payee has no capacity to endorse it. But if it is obtained by the holder in due course without the knowledge of this, then there is no estoppel against denying the capacity of the payee to endorse. That means now, as it is in the hands of the holder in due course, there is no question of endorsement. Okay. Now we'll discuss what are, I think our time is over. Perhaps it is already 8:20. So I think I should leave the class.
Yes, sir.
Because the next teacher I think already entered in the class.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So thank you so much. In the next class we'll meet.
Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Sir, ବୋଧେ ଛାଡି ନାହାନ୍ତି।
Sir, you can continue, sir. Actually, I am leaving the class.
ସାର୍ ଆପଣ ଟିକେ ଷ୍ଟପ୍ ସ୍କ୍ରିନ୍ ସେୟାର କରିବେ ମୁଁ ସୋ ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ କଣ୍ଟିନ୍ୟୁ କରିଥାନ୍ତି।
Sir, ମୁଁ ଟିକେ ଦେଖିଦଉଛି କଣଟା ଗୋଟେ ପ୍ରୋବ୍ଲେମ ହେଇଗଲା ଟିକେ ମୋବାଇଲ ଟା ହଲ୍ଟ ହେଇଯାଇଛି ତ।
ନାଇଁ ସାର୍ ଆପ୍ରୁ ଯାଇକି କରିବେ।
ଆଜ୍ଞା ଓକେ ସାର୍।
सर लीव कर जानतो ହେଇଯିବ सर ओके सर हमें ऑडिबल लीव करी गले भी आपनकर कटि ଯିବ। ओके सर लीव करी गले भी आपनकर कटि ଯିବ सर मु हमें ऑडिबल ओके सर हमें ऑडिबल टू यू
ओके राइट नाउ ସାର୍ ପଳେଇଲେଣି ଆମେ ଆମର ଷ୍ଟାର୍ଟ କରିବା। Good morning class. Yesterday we were doing learning. Today we had a basic idea of what learning is. Today we'll be starting with the theories of learning. So theories of learning. Is my screen visible to all?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Good morning.
Yes, sir.
So our theory of learning will start with the behavior. It's of the three kinds: behavioristic theory, cognitive learning theory, and the social learning theory. Behavioristic theory, it is of two types: classical conditioning. Classical condition was proposed by Ivan Pavlov. It's again a research into how a living being can be, designed or motivated to work or behave in a particular way. This design was conducted on a dog. Our operant condition is by B.F. Skinner. What is that? Behaviorism theories confined to observable and measurable behavior. Classical conditioning theory was proposed by Ivan Pavlov and operant conditioning by B.F. Skinner. So, what is classical conditioning? It is defined as a process in which a formally neutral stimuli, formally neutral meaning earlier that stimulus generated no response from me, when paired with unconditional stimulus, becomes a conditioned stimulus that elicits or motte I have to or I am in programmed in such a way that right now that unconditioned stimulus becomes a conditioned stimulus and I react in a certain manner, leads to a conditioned response, so that the stimulus response connection is learnt. Classical conditioning is based on the premise that a physical event termed as a stimulus that initially does not lead to a particular response gradually acquires the capacity to lead the response as a result of repeated pairing with unconditioned stimulus. So, classical conditioning has a prerequisite that a physical event termed as a stimulus, earlier it never had any kind of a response from a person or a thing or a living yeah, factor, but right now it generates a response. Okay, why? Because we are repeating the process. Once I am repeating a particular process, I am learning that the unconditioned stimulus becomes or creates a situation where I will give a programmed response. So, better the important reactions such as fear, prejudice, taste, and aversion. ଏଇଟାକୁ ଆମେ ବେଟର ବୁଝିବା ଆଗ ଗୋଟେ ଡାଇଗ୍ରାମକୁ ଆମେ ଆଗ ଯିବା ସେ କ'ଣ କେମିତି ଏଇଟା କରିଥିଲେ then we will again return to this slide. How the dog training works before conditioning, kindly go through this slide. This is a general बहुत basic way रे and बहुत clearly आपन बुझे दबो हैला, and I will also explain this. एइथरु क्वेश्चंस आसे आपनकर learning theories रो long question 12 mark रा आसीबो, so you have to explain all those three behavioristic, cognitive as well as social learning. So in the classical conditioning रे आमे जदी देखिबा हमरो एइथरे Pavlov कौन करले, the particular researcher, what he did was before conditioning he introduced food to a dog which had an unconditioned response. Unconditioned or conditioning basically over here means when I am training someone, ସେତେବେଳକୁ ଆମେ ତାକୁ conditioning କରଉଛୁ. I am seeing that the training is for a purpose. Our outcome टा होची तारो response, because that is what is expected out of an organization कि सेमाने तांकर or an employee organization trains employees in a particular way so that their response is in a predicted manner. बुझी पारले ए जाय से कोन करले unconditioned आमे किछि से जगह रे there is no pre planning. The food was represented to the dog. The response was the dog started salivating. Before conditioning रे second होची neutral area देखंतु stimulus दियाला. When I represented the food, there was salivation. Dog felt hungry. Dog wanted to eat the food. Second case of the second image states that when the neutral stimulus is being given, at that particular time the dog has no sense of the dog doesn't respond or he doesn't salivate, ମାନେ ତାକୁ ଭୋକ ଲାଗୁନି, ବେଲ୍ ତ ବାଜୁଛି that person that dog ସେ ଦେଖିଲା. ନେକ୍ସଟ ହଉଛି କ'ଣ ଆମର ଏଇଥିରେ ଆମେ ଦେଖୁଛେ थर्ड कंडीशनिंग रे Pavlov फूड आ बेल दीटा आगु से कौन कले हमर ये कले एका संगे इंट्रोड्यूस कले. सो डॉग स्टार्टेड टू सलाइवेट अगेन, बट दैट वाज नॉट कंडीशनड. काहे कि एटा जस्ट एन एक्सपेरिमेंट टू सी कि डॉग बुझुची ना. वंस द process is continuously repeated ସେତେବେଳୁ କଣ ଦେଖାଗଲା କି ଡଗ୍ ସାଲାଇଭେଟ୍ କରୁଛି ଆମର ଫୋର୍ଥ କେସ୍କୁ ଆସିବା ଯଦି ଇଭେନ୍ when bell was ringing ଡଗ୍କୁ କଣ ଲାଗିଲା କି ୟେସ୍ कि the ringing of the bell is associated with me getting food. So dog ର ଗୋଟେ conditioned response କଣ ବାହାରିଲା कि ସେ salivate କଲା. Similarly ଆମେ ଯଦି ଏଇ ସ୍ଲାଇଡଟା ବୁଝି ପାରିଲେ ନା I have to explain it again. ଟିକେ ଯଦି ଡାଉଟ୍ ଅଛି ଏବେ ପଚାରନ୍ତୁ କାହିଁକିନା ଏଇଟା ଗୋଟେ ପ୍ରକାରର ମାନେ ମେନ୍ ଥିଓରି ଲର୍ଣ୍ଣିଂର କାହାର ଯଦି ଡାଉଟ୍ ଅଛି କାଇଣ୍ଡଲି ପଚାରନ୍ତୁ ଏବେଠୁ
So the last part after conditioning, the bell, it is represented as a conditioned stimulus. So I don't
ଆପଣଙ୍କର
understand.
ଶୁଣନ୍ତୁ ବେଲ୍କୁ ଆମର ଏଇ ଜାଗାରେ ନ୍ୟୁଟ୍ରାଲ ଷ୍ଟିମୁଲସ୍ କ'ଣ ଦିଆହେଲା ସେକେଣ୍ଡ ସ୍ଲାଇଡ୍କୁ ଆପଣ ଯାଆନ୍ତୁ ସେକେଣ୍ଡ ସ୍ଲାଇଡ୍ରେ ନ୍ୟୁଟ୍ରାଲ ଷ୍ଟିମୁଲସ୍ ଦିଆହେଲା ବେଲ୍ ସେତେବେଳେ ଆମର ଡଗ୍ର କିଛି ଲର୍ଣ୍ଣିଂ ନଥିଲା ଡଗ୍ ଜଷ୍ଟ ସିମ୍ପଲି ଅଣ୍ଡରଷ୍ଟୁଡ୍ ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ ଜଷ୍ଟ ଏ ବେଲ୍ ଇଜ୍ ବିଙ୍ଗ ରିଙ୍ଗିଂ ସେକେଣ୍ଡ ଯେଉଁ ଥର୍ଡ ଟାଇମ୍ରେ ଆମେ କ'ଣ କଲୁ ଆମେ ବେଲ୍କୁ ଫୁଡ୍ ସହିତ ବେଲ୍କୁ ରିଙ୍ଗ କଲୁ ଆଟ୍ ଦି ସେମ୍ ଟାଇମ୍ ସାଇମଲ୍ଟେନିୟସଲି ଆଇ ପ୍ରୋଭାଇଡେଡ୍ ଦି ଫୁଡ୍ ଟୁ ଦି ଡଗ୍ unconditioned response ସେତେବେଳୁ ଡଗ୍ ଜାଣିନଥିଲା କି ବେଲ୍ ରିଙ୍ଗିଂ ଇଜ୍ ଆସୋସିଏଟେଡ୍ ୱିଥ୍ ମି ଗେଟିଂ ଦି ଫୁଡ୍ ଫୋର୍ଥରେ ଆପଣ ଯଦି ଆସିବେ କଣ୍ଡିସନ୍ ଷ୍ଟିମୁଲସ୍ ମୁଁ ଥର୍ଡ ପ୍ରୋସେସଟାକୁ ଯଦି କଣ୍ଟିନ୍ୟୁଅସଲି ରିପିଟ୍ କରିଲି ଅନକଣ୍ଡିସନ୍ଡ ରେସ୍ପନ୍ସଟା କଣ୍ଡିସନ୍ଡ ରେସ୍ପନ୍ସକୁ କନଭର୍ଟ କରିଗଲା କାହିଁକିନା ଡଗ୍ ଆସୋସିଏଟ୍ କଲା ଯେବେ ମୋର ଗୋଟେ କଣ୍ଡିସନ୍ଡ ଷ୍ଟିମୁଲସ୍ ଦିଆହେଲା କଣ୍ଡିସନ୍ ଷ୍ଟିମୁଲସ୍ ମାନେ ମୁଁ ଡଗ୍କୁ ଲର୍ନ କରାଇଲି କି when there is a bell ringing it is associated with food ତ ସେଇଟା କଣ୍ଡିସନ୍ ଷ୍ଟିମୁଲସ୍ ଦିଆହେଲା ବେଳକୁ ତାର କଣ୍ଡିସନ୍ ରେସ୍ପନ୍ସ ହେଉଛି କ'ଣ ସାଲାଇଭେଟିଂ
Salivation. Yes, sir.
ଏଇ ଜାଗାରେ ଆମେ ଗୋଟେ ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ଏକ୍ସାମ୍ପଲ୍ ଯଦି ନେବା ଫାୟାର ଫାଇଟର୍ସ ଇମର୍ଜେନ୍ସି ରେସ୍ପଣ୍ଡର୍ସ ତାଙ୍କର ଆମେ ଯଦି ବେସିକାଲି ଫାୟାର ଫାଇଟର୍ସ ମାନଙ୍କର କେସ୍କୁ ଯଦି ଦେଖିବା they undergo a lot of training and emergency situation रे जेबे तांको आपण movies देखिथे plus you can if you have the time you can interact with them तांकर भी गोटे बेल थाए even if you are sleeping even if you are in the middle of the night जदि बेल बाजिबो they are conditioned in such a manner that they will respond they will whatever ସେମାନେ ଯୋଉ କଣ୍ଡିସନରେ ବି ଥିବେ ଆସିବେ କ୍ୱିକଲି ଚେଞ୍ଜ କରିବେ they will get into their vehicles and go to that particular spot so that is how ଆମର classical conditioning works okay ଏଇ ଜାଗାରେ ଦେଖନ୍ତୁ previous slide କୁ ଯଦି ଆମେ ଯିବା this is important in reactions such as fear prejudice taste and aversion गोटे पिला को आपण पिला बेलठू कंडीशन करे करे आसुचंती कि प्लग रे हाथ मारिबुनी हमर ये बाहर को एकला जिबुनी सो ऑन एंड सो फॉर्थ पेरेंट्स डू दैट सो it is just to condition the child that the outcome will be negative ସେଇଥିରୁ ତାର ଗୋଟେ ଡର ବସିବ କି ନାଇଁ what the activity this or a particular activity will yield in a negative outcome prejudice upon prejudice is again based on a lot of things prejudice biasness ହେଇ ପାରେ prejudice ମୋର କାହା ସହିତ ଗୋଟେ ମାନେ ମନ ମୋଟାව ହେଲା ମୋର ଗୋଟେ ତା ଉପରେ କିମ୍ବା ମୋର ଗୋଟେ ପ୍ରିସେଟ୍ ଅଛି ଗୋଟେ ପର୍ଟିକୁଲାର କମ୍ୟୁନିଟି ଉପରେ କିମ୍ବା ଗୋଟେ ପର୍ଟିକୁଲାର country ଉପରେ so that is a prejudice next is your taste aversion is you just do not you are in disgust of a particular thing a food a particular situation you want to avoid so that is how you are classically conditioned right from childhood till now so that is how cognition affects ଆପଣଙ୍କର cognition ମାନେ କ'ଣ ମୁଁ ଆପଣଙ୍କୁ କହିଥିଲି cognition is basic learning ଆମେ ପିଲାବେଳଠୁ ବହୁତ କିଛି ବୁଝୁଛେ so we are being conditioned in a particular way to respond operant condition अच्छा यार ओके हमें आगे कवर कर रहा है क्वेश्चन पचारि व्हाट इज ऑपरेंट कंडीशनिंग ऑपरेंट कंडीशनिंग रो थियरी रो propose କରିଥିଲେ ଆମ BF Skinner. It is also known as instrumental conditioning. It's a learning process in which behavior is sensitive to or controlled by its outcome. Behavior is a function of its consequences. Our behavior process certain consequences, and how we behave in the future will depend on what the consequences are. ଟିକେ ଆମେ ଏଇ ଜାଗାରୁ ଏଇ ସ୍ଲାଇଡରୁ ବାହାର କରିକି ସରି ଆମେ ଟିକେ ଗୋଟେ ୱାର୍ଡ ଫାଇଲକୁ ଯିବା। ଓକେ, ୱାର୍ଡ ଫାଇଲଟା ଭିଜିବଲ ଅଛି ତ ସମସ୍ତଙ୍କୁ?
Yes, sir.
ଓକେ,
Yes, sir.
प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ ऑपरेटिंग कंडीशन ऑपरेंट कंडीशनिंग को ଯିବା ଆଗରୁ ଆମେ ଏଇଠି ଦେଖିବା ऑपरेंट कंडीशन इज ए लर्निंग थियोरी proposed by B.F. Skinner that states behavior is shaped by its consequences through a system of rewards and punishment. ଏଇଟା ହେଉଛି ମୁଖ୍ୟତା। rewards and punishments ପିଲା ବେଳଠୁ ଆମକୁ ଆମ ଭଲ ବିହେଭିୟର ପାଇଁ ଆମ ପେରେଣ୍ଟସ୍ ଆମକୁ ରିୱାର୍ଡ କରୁଛନ୍ତି, ଆମକୁ ଆମ ଖରାପ ବିହେଭିୟର ପାଇଁ ଆମକୁ ପନିଶମେଣ୍ଟ ଦିଆଯାଉଛି। we are being reprimanded. It is the same thing happening in organizations nowadays. HRM department or the overall organization will reward people who are behaving in a certain manner. Your behavior is good, so obviously you are asset to the organization because your productivity level doesn't fall. You have a good relationship with everyone where you are basically ମାନେ ସାଧା ଲାଙ୍ଗୁଏଜରେ ବୁଝେଇବି ଯଦି ଆପଣ ହେଉଛନ୍ତି ଆମ ସଂସ୍ଥାର ଗୋଟେ ଆସେଟ୍। ବିହେଭିୟର୍ସ ନେକ୍ସଟ ଏଇ ଜାଗାରେ ହେଉଛି କ'ଣ? ବିହେଭିୟର୍ସ ଫଲୋଡ୍ ବାଇ ରିଇନଫୋର୍ସମେଣ୍ଟ ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ ଇଜ ପଜିଟିଭ ଆଣ୍ଡ ନେଗେଟିଭ। ଏଇଥିରୁ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚିନ୍ ଆସିବ, ଏଇଟା ଟିକେ ଭଲରେ ଶୁଣନ୍ତୁ। ବିହେଭିୟର୍ସ ଫଲୋଡ୍ ବାଇ କାଇଣ୍ଡଲି ମ୍ୟୁଟ୍ କରିଦିଅନ୍ତୁ ଯେ ଅନମ୍ୟୁଟ୍ ଅଛନ୍ତି ନିଜକୁ। Behaviors followed by reinforcement, that is positive or negative, are more likely to be repeated, while behaviors followed by punishment are less likely to be repeated. See, why? Amar jodi negative hochi, why I am going to repeat it? Idhar apan gote question pachari paribe. Key principles of positive reinforcement: adding a desirable stimulus, negative reinforcement, removing a undesirable stimulus, and punishment, applying an undesirable stimulus. So, এই জায়গায় কোন হচ্ছে কোন কে কই পারিব? You can go through this also. Principles of operant conditioning रे अपने example भी देखंतु। Positive reinforcement रे हम कौन करूचे? Increases the likelihood of a behavior being introduced or by introducing a desirable consequence. Say for example, a child receives praise for completing their homework, making them more likely to do it again. So basically, when I am rewarding an employee or I am praising an employee's hard work, at that particular time, I might display, what is that kind of reinforcement? Positive na negative?
So positive.
So say the person will be motivated to add to the productivity, and so that we all want some kind of a recognition. Amar Maslow's need hierarchy theory say motivation level of motivation more kemti increase kariba more jodi effort ta jone ki realize kala within the organization. At that particular time, if the organization through positive reinforcement encourages its employees, then the work may not decrease, but it will may not increase, decrease karibani, constant rahibo, which is acceptable. Negative reinforcement just opposite of the positive we reprimand increases the likelihood of a behavior by removing an aversive or जोटा कि हमर negative stimulus को हमें बाहर करते। Person takes an aspirin to remove a headache, the negative stimulus, which reinforces the behavior of taking aspirin for future headaches. Or rather, let us come to an example which is relevant to our study, being late to office, being late to office, or being late to office will yield a negative reinforcement. What is that negative reinforcement? Organization stated that if I'm late to office by say around 15-20 minutes for continuous 2-3 days, I'm late. So the negative reinforcement will be economical in nature. माने मोर दरमा कटिबो. So that is how the organization would want that the lateness of a particular employee is being addressed. Next, punishment decreases the likelihood of a behavior by introducing an undesirable consequence or removing a desirable one. A child gets a timeout for misbehaving, which is intended to decrease that specific behavior. So, a repeated negative behavior को हमें punish करूचे. A person, coming to office in a alcoholic state, so that particular person is not fit to be in the office. The person would be suspended. A person doing unethical work, that person needs to be created as an example for others to follow, so that we are punishing the person. The organization wants to portray that the behavior is negative and is not acceptable. Next होउची कोण आमर extinction. Weaker behaviors by withholding reinforcement. A student stops praising. A student stops praising a student stops receiving praise for a certain behavior and it eventually stops. So this is what is desired. Actually, in certain areas, we would want negative behaviors or behaviors which are not socially acceptable. They need to be extinct from our own, we behave in a very casual way. In a formal setting, if we are not taught or we are not, conditioned in a proper manner, then our casual behavior may lead to unforeseen circumstances where I'll be meeting a person from some other company and it is going to create a problem. So, extinction ta bhalo. Next hoji kona, how does it work? In education, positive reinforcement is like giving gold stars of praise. ପିଲାମାନଙ୍କୁ ଭଲ ତାଙ୍କର ପାଠ ପଢା ତାଙ୍କର ବ୍ୟବହାର ଓଭରଅଲ୍ ଯେବେ ସେମାନେ ପରଫର୍ମ କରନ୍ତି, children are given stars. ଆଜିକା ଡେଟ୍ରେ that is the practice. Even you would go to say ଆମେ ଯଦି ଏବେ ସଂସ୍ଥା ବଡ଼ ବଡ଼ ସଂସ୍ଥାକୁ ଯିବା କିମ୍ବା ଆମେ ଇଣ୍ଡଷ୍ଟ୍ରିକୁ ଯିବା କିମ୍ବା ବ୍ୟାଙ୍କିଂ ସେକ୍ଟରରେ ଦେଖିବା, ପରଫର୍ମାନ୍ସକୁ ଦେଖୁଛେ. But in education, overall भी देखुचंती including performance तार अलग category अच्छी. So next होची in workplace, bonuses are used as positive reinforcement to motivate employees, while warnings can be used. Warnings हमारा होची show cause notice, even just an example. Warnings can be used as a punishment to discourage undesirable behaviors such as tardiness or being late. In daily life, a dog may learn to sit on command if it receives a treat, positive treat, biscuit or anything. Each time it does so correctly. So, key differences operant conditioning is all about voluntary behaviors and how their consequences shape actions. Unlike classical conditioning, which focuses on involuntary reflexes. Voluntary माने कौन? You are in control to change your behavior. Involuntary कौन? You are taught to act and react and behave in a certain way. Next होची कौन? हमें टिक्के slide को पढ़ाया फिर. So operant conditioning emphasizes on ବୁଝିଲେ ଏଇଟା ସ୍ଲାଇଡଟା ଦେଖାଯାଉଥିବ। So operant conditioning କଣ ଅଛି? Specific consequences are associated with a voluntary behavior. Rewards introduced to increase a behavior, punishment introduced to decrease a behavior. Moving on, what are the differences between classical and operant conditioning? ଏଇଟା ମଝିରେ କିଛି ବର୍ଷ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚିନ୍ ଆସୁଥିଲା, ଏବେ ଆସିବ ନା ନାଇଁ I do not know, but ଏଇଟା 8 ମାର୍କରେ ଆସେ, so kindly ଟିକେ ଏଇଟାକୁ ଦେଖନ୍ତୁ। Difference between classical and operant conditioning: responses are elicited, that is reactive in nature. Responses are emitted by the person, so that is proactive, which is generated ହଉଛି ଆମର classical conditioning, because you are programmed to react in a certain way. Classical next point कौन होती? Responses are fixed to stimulus. A particular stimulus is provided and you react accordingly. But in case of operant conditioning, the choice is on you, or the onus is on you, how you react. Conditioned stimulus, our conditioned stimulus may be a sound, an object, or a person, or a particular situation. Firefighting is a particular situation. How do you fight? Firefighters, that is a situation. Conditioned stimulus is a situation such as an office, a social setting, a specific set of circumstances. Conditioning is implemented before response. Conditioning is implemented after response. Hela, etaku bujhandu, because I will ask questions if you don't. First, a stimulus is produced and then desired behavior is expected. Last point. First, we get a behavior pattern, and then either by reward or by avoidance of punishment, we reinforce that behavior. Okay. Any doubts? कार किछ पचारियार अछि?
सर लास्ट पॉइंट टा टिके आउथरे
आपणकर ऑपरेंट कंडीशनिंग रे मु जेबे पचारली कहिली फर्स्ट पॉइंट को आपण देखंतु responses are reactive in nature. Operant conditioning माने ए जो क्लासिकल कंडीशनिंग माने कोन? क्लासिकल कंडीशनिंग रे आपण को गोटे प्रकार रो माने पढ़ा हैला कहंतु किबा आपण को गोटे प्रकार रो सिचुएशन को एक्सपोज करा हैला, so that गोटे प्रकार आपण को ट्रेनिंग देले, से फॉर एग्जांपल आई एम प्रोवाइडिंग यू ट्रेनिंग in soft skills, so that the post training you will be able to interact in a particular way. Hona nahi?
Yes sir, yes sir.
So when a stimulus is produced or provided, stimulus ta jar kon apun ku mu training deli, training dela pore I expect a certain kind of behavior or response from the person who is just undergone the training process. So organization re jebe sales loko manunku initially sales loko they do not know how to generally they do not know the jargon of sales. Kemiti sales kariba kata, sales pitch kemiti debi, product strength mu kemiti explain karibi, what is the motto of the organization, what are the strength and weaknesses of the product or the service which I am marketing. So if they are trained in a particular way, when they are conditioned to speak in a certain way, then their behavior will change.
Yes sir.
Yes.
Yes sir.
जहाँ भी आपनकर जदि आमे एई कंडीशनिंग टाको आमे को लेवल रे करछे, फ्रेशर्स लेवल रे करछे कि न्यू एंट्रेंस हु आर न्यू टू द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. ऑपरेंट कंडीशनिंग आमे कोन करछे? ऑपरेंट कंडीशनिंग रे आमे देखुछे बिहेवियर्स ऑफ ओवरऑल पीपल हु आर वर्किंग इन द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन बेस्ड ऑन हाउ दे आर बिहेविंग. Then I am going to introduce either reward or punishment to get a desired response. ଯଦି ଭଲ ବିହେଭ୍ କଲେ then they am going to recognize their effort. If they are not operating or behaving in accordance to my expectation, my organization, so I have to again see to it कि ମୁଁ କେମିତି ସେଇ ଜିନିଷଟାକୁ either through positive reinforcement or negative reinforcement bringing the person back on track कि तू भाई भलरे कथबार्ता कर भलरे व्यवहार कर आमर ऑफिस रो अब ऑर्गेनाइजेशन रो वर्क को यू फॉलो टू द टी टी नहेले भी एटलीस्ट यू become a productive person, you do not create problems. So that is the expectation of operant conditioning. तुमको तमे गोटे लोक को केमिति से ऑपरेट करिवो तमे सेटा को सिखैबो थ्रू पर रिवॉर्ड एंड पनिशमेंट process exact and how you are going to do so. First you are going to observe their behavior. Second आपण कौन करिवे behavior को modify करिया पे कि आपण either positive reinforcement देबे नेगेटिव reinforcement देबे आपण तार behavior को punishment करिके कर परिबे जदि नेगेटिव रिइनफोर्समेंट काम कलानी पनिशमेंट काम कलानी से लोकटा को रखिकी किछि लाभ अछि दैट पर्सन विल बिकम इनवेरिएबली ए liability to the organization and that problem person will go into माने जो हमर कोनती one rotten apple process टा हबो नेक्स्ट होजी कोन cognitive learning theory. Cognitive learning theory defines human behavior as a dynamic, reciprocal interaction of personal factors, behavior, and the environment. Cognitive learning is the basic learning behavior, theory. Our cognition is learning. It strongly emphasizes on one's cognitions, understanding, interpretation. It refers to the power and ability of knowing. This theory suggests that the mind is an active force that constructs one's reality and is formed by interaction of the environment and one's cognition. Environment basically would be a lot of things which we are getting exposed to, situations, people, person, whatever. And what are our cognitions about it? Cognition is basically how we interpret the thing or how we recall we have experienced the particular thing. Next होजी कौन cognitism in classroom. Inquiry oriented projects. Inquiry oriented projects basically means you learn through your own inquisitiveness or you learn through your own a desire to understand a particular thing. So thereby I am adding to the knowledge through my curiosity to know a particular thing. So say jagar more learning process ta hochi opportunities for testing the hypothesis. Hypothesis is a research language, but basically those are strong cognitions or strong beliefs or strong understanding कि मु भाबुची say for example behavior and or training and behavior, they have a positive outcome. So ଏବେ ତ ସେଇଟା obviously prove ହେଇଗଲାଣି କିନ୍ତୁ ସେଇଟାକୁ ମୁଁ ଯଦି ଜାଣିବାକୁ ଚାହୁଁଛି ମୋର organizationରେ if I am having a kind of people, if I do a internal research within the organization, that is part of the again R&D ଯଦି ଆମେ କରୁଛୁ ଆମେ ଜାଣିବାକୁ ଚେଷ୍ଟା କରିବୁ ଆମ ଲୋକମାନଙ୍କର ଟ୍ରେନିଂ ପରେ କିମ୍ବା ଟ୍ରେନିଂରୁ what is the benefit we are deriving, or is the training or has the training provided some positive outcome. Research I am going to hypothesize kalle no our exposure to a particular technology was responsible for the positive outcome. But what is the thing? So opportunities for the testing of hypothesis basically means ଆପଣ ଯେବେ ରିସର୍ଚ୍ଚ କରିବେ ଆପଣ ଗୋଟେ ରେସ୍ପନ୍ସ ଆଣିବେ ଆପଣ ଗୋଟେ ଇନକ୍ୱାରି ବସେଇବେ ଯେବେ ଆପଣ ଗୋଟେ ଜିନିଷକୁ ଇନକ୍ୱିଜିଟିଭ୍ ଅଛନ୍ତି ଜାଣିବାକୁ ଚାହୁଁଛନ୍ତି what has caused increase in productivity, what has caused the positive behavior, why people are or rather without training wise the people are more committed towards the organization. If I do that kind of a study, so say also I am learning. Certain people, when the organization is in crisis, they would want to contribute more towards the organization's for the productivity. So they are more dedicated towards the cause. That can become a research thing. What are the factors leading to, you know, positive productivity? Curiosity encouraged is any new thing you want to develop, say technological, anything in the area of HRM development. Stage scaffolding is a মানে ছাত্রকে আমি scaffolding বলছি. Stage scaffolding basically means over here a step which you want to overcome so that your level of knowledge increases. जोटाକୁ ଆମେ individualistic nature ଯଦି ଦେଖିବା, I want to move up in the career ladder, so I want to see to it that I am having the potential, or I am ready with the knowledge, skills and attitudes to take up a higher position. Next was the social learning theory, grew out of cognitivism or learning. It was proposed by Albert Bandura. This theory states that we learn not from first-hand experience but also from watching others or by hearing about something. So, observation, experience in our life is also helping us to understand a particular, the world around us. So, such observational learning stresses the importance of models in our life. Who are our models? Say, from childhood till adulthood, parents are basically parents are your idols. When you are slowly growing up, you're exposed to entertainment. So certain characters, certain people will you might want to admire them. So that is how you learn. It shapes your behavior. Social learning theory, they four interrelated processes establish and strengthen identification with the model. Children want to be like the model. Model is whom we aspire to become, or whom we idolize. Children believe that they are like the model and imitate the behavior. They imitate the idol. Children experience emotions like those the model is feeling. So, what I mean, through imitation, we try to repeat the behaviors of that particular idol. Children act like the model. These are called social learning rate. Through identification, children come to believe that they have the same characteristics as the model. When they identify with a nutrient, not how do you pronounce it? Nutrient and the competent model, children feel pleased and proud. So basically, when ଆମର ଗୋଟେ ପିଲା ବେଳୁ ଆମର ଗୋଟେ ଥିଲା, I do not know if most of you know Shaktiman. Shaktiman was a TV show, and we boys especially wanted to be like him. So the powers, the intellect, the rationality, and the way that particular character used to portray itself in that particular television show, we all wanted to imitate that particular person. So that is how we are learning right from the childhood. So similarly, as we grow up, social learning theory states that we are learning from our environment, we are learning from a particular the situation. So ଆମେ ବହୁତ ଗୁଡ଼େ ଜିନିଷରୁ ଆମେ ପଢୁଛୁ. When they identify with a inadequate model, children feel unhappy and insecure. ତ ଆଜିକା ଡେଟ୍ରେ ମଡର୍ଣ୍ଣ ଡେ ପିଲା ଆମ ବେଳକୁ ଶକ୍ତିମାନ ଥିଲା, ଏବେ ବେଳକୁ ଆସିଗଲାଣି ମାର୍ଭଲ, ଏବେ ବେଳକୁ ଆସିଗଲାଣି ଆମର have an impact on the child and it shapes their behavior. Social learning theory in classroom analogy, collaborative learning and group work. So where you share a lot of ideas, you are exposed to different thought processes, and through this exposure, we realize, or as an individual, I would realize if I ମୁଁ ଯଦି ମୋ ନିଜର ଏକ୍ସାମ୍ପଲ ଦେବି, when I meet people, I often assess myself, ମୁଁ କୋଉ ଜାଗାରେ ଅଛି, ମୋର what is the kind of discussions they are having and what is my knowledge about it. So I at that time can judge myself and assess ki I need to learn more, or I'm at par, or I need to be a better person. So thereby, kind of learning never stops. Collaborating learning and group work रे ଆମର ଏଇ ଜାଗାରେ ଆମେ ଯଦି ଦେଖିବା କ'ଣ, ଆମେ ଯଦି ଅଫିସରେ କିମ୍ବା ଗୋଟେ ଅଫିସ ଏନଭାୟରମେଣ୍ଟରେ ଆମେ ଟ୍ରେନିଂ ଦଉଛୁ ଲୋକମାନଙ୍କୁ, through their interactions, ଗୋଟେ classroom ରେ when I'm asking questions to my students, different people will have different ideas. So through that we get to know a lot of other information, otherwise जोटा हम सार मिस कर जाई परंती किबा हमर स्टूडेंट माने मिस कर जाई परंती. सो सेही जगह रे विभिन्न जिंस को हम मुंड को जाउचे, आमे सेही हिसाब रे हमर अंडरस्टैंडिंग रहू. Modeling responses and expectations. Modeling responses is again a kind of conditioning we are providing through our learning process. We expect a certain type of response from our students. We expect a upon got poster training as in an organization, we expect a certain kind of behavior. So all these things are when we are modeling the responses to meet our expectation, opportunities to observe experts in action. This is one of the crucial things. Industry experts, they come, they interact. Adhika data industry experts, they go to a lot of B schools, technical schools, where they share their experiences. They share first-hand information as to how the business or their area of work is operating in. So that helps a lot. So thereby, actually जो पिलाମାନେ ବୁଝୁଛନ୍ତି 90% ପିଲା ତ ଶୁଣନ୍ତିନି, including I was once the part of the 90%. So experts ଆସିବେ, ଯଦି ଯୋଉ 10% ଶୁଣୁଛନ୍ତି ସେମାନେ actually they would want to inculcate practices of those experts in their life. So that is helpful. Next ହଉଛି କ'ଣ, critics of social learning theory. Critics or demerits limitations. It does not take into account the individuality, context and experience as mediating factors. Individuality. Social learning, got a general concept koila, we all learn from it, we all behave in a particular manner, but you and me are different. Your value system, your attitudes, your personality may differ from me. So your interpretation, your behavior may be different. Context hoji, see, what I believe to be unethical. So bribe is a unethical thing. যদি কন্টেক্সট কହୁଛି କି ନାଇଁ ୱିଦାଉଟ୍ ବ୍ରାଇବ୍ ମୋ କାମଟା ହବନି, ସେ ଜାଗା ବ୍ରାଇବ୍ ଏଥିକାଲ ହଉ ନନ୍ ଏଥିକାଲ ହଉ, I have to pay it and get my work. Experience are the mediating factor. Experience, yes. When people with experience, ଆପଣଙ୍କୁ ଏଇଟା ଟିକେ ଅଖାଡ ଲାଗିପାରେ, but I'll still say it. Youngsters are more, proactive and aggressive in nature than people with experience, because people with experience know when to let go, when to have a basic understanding that there's no point being aggressive. We all have gone through that phase, so let us just leave it as it is. When the situation will come, it will happen. So that kind of a thing or that attitude develops with experience. Second point suggests students learn best as passive receivers of sensory stimuli as opposed to active learners. So classroom re jaha tame padhuche thik achi, but through exposure to social environment, people learn a lot. Passively mu dekhuchi, I learn a lot from my environment. I basically there's a more interest classroom में bookish knowledge में नहीं. I try to learn a lot from the social environment around me. Here, next point कौन कौन emotions and motivation not considered important or connected to learning. So that is extremely wrong thing, which is one of the main things. Why? Because it assumed or it assumes that emotions and motivation do not play a role, because the first point को यदि हमें पढ़ेगा से यार कुछ it doesn't take into account the individuality. If it doesn't take into account the individuality, emotions motivation level is also not considered. Why? Because more emotion, more level of motivation is different from the other person. Okay, moving on. ଆମର এই ସ୍ଲାଇଡଟା କଣ କହୁଛି? social constructivism in the classroom. Social constructivism कौन कौची? Journaling, experimental activities. एवढा आसीबनी ताले भी just I am just in brief आपन बुझे दूची. Constructivism, journalizing what you have learned and notes बनेवा. Experimental activities हमको बी स्कूल रे किबा हमर ऑफिस रे जेबे ग्रुप डायनामिक्स ऊपर कराउचंती activities. So thereby the main point is to see that we through that particular experiment there is some kind of a learning, there is some kind of a development in the dynamics. So experimental activities are done. Personal focus. Personal focus रे कौन हम? Personal focus रे basically it means that when I am in I'm exposed to the social environment, the focus is on developing myself or learning. I mean, basically, what we are learning. Next to collaborative and cooperative learning. Collaborative and cooperative learning, it basically classroom level. We are sharing ideas, we are sharing with I mean, जब research area को जाऊँ, we share a lot of ideas, we share a lot of there's a lot of cooperation, because we need to understand what arguments are there, what new areas where we can explore. Next to learning and OB modification. OB modification is used to understand the behavior of human being more effectively and used to improve, eliminate, modify undesirable behavior. Behavioral modification focuses on what is concept of behavior modification. So, it aims to improve employee productivity, reduce absenteeism and lateness or tardiness, reducing accident rates in industrial areas. A proper trained person, whose focus is there, would operate the machines in a acceptable manner, improves employee discipline, training, better developing training and development programs, improving industrial relation. Improving industrial relation, it is crucial, because if there's a conflict between workforce and the industry, work stops, there's no productivity. Okay. Steps in behavioral modification: identify critical behavior, develop a benchmark to identify what needs or how a particular person needs to behave or operate, desirable or undesirable behavior, analyze behavioral consequence. What is the hindsight to the negative behavior, and what are the implications? Implement intervention strategy. How we are going to intervene through positive reinforcement, through negative reinforcement, through punishment. What are we going to do? Evaluate performance change, post positive or negative. Is there any kind of a change? So, ଏଇଥିରୁ ଆପଣଙ୍କର ଆସିପାରେ question. This is a 8-mark question. Thank you. आज पे एतिक था. Any questions? Any questions anyone has? Any questions? Does anybody have any question?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day.